If you've been struggling with your podcast, either with overwhelm or a lack of momentum, or you're starting to feel burned out, then today's video is just for you. I'm going to share with you 7 people that can help you improve your podcast. So let's get right to it. Y'all, Krystal here, and today I'm going to share with you 7 people that can help you improve your podcast. I understand what it's like whenever you start feeling overwhelmed, like you're getting in the thick of it, you're consistently putting out brand new podcast episodes, but then life happens, right? Like your kid gets sick, or you have to call in for work for some reason, and then you kind of feel like you're spinning your wheels, and you're like, if somebody could just help me, that would be amazing. So if you're anything like me, you're thinking, I need help, but I don't know where to get started. I'm going to break down 7 different types of people that can help you improve your podcast. The first person is a virtual assistant. But in order to know exactly what a virtual assistant can do to help you, you need to know everything that you do within your podcast process. So if you haven't, make sure that you grab the ultimate podcast checklist. It's at krystalproffitt.com/podcast checklist. It is literally every single thing that I do for my podcast every single week. You have to know exactly what you do step by step for your podcast in order to say, here, I need you to help me with this. Because if you get on a call with a virtual assistant and they're like, how can I help you? And you just blankly stare at them. I don't know how you can help me. I just know I'm overwhelmed. What good is that going to do anybody? You have to have an action plan in place before you ever start talking to someone that can help you. Because if you don't know how someone else can help you, then they're probably going to go in and mess a whole bunch of stuff up that's not going to make you happy anyway. So make sure you go into a relationship with a virtual assistant with a plan. So what are some of the ways that a virtual assistant can help you? Well, for one, the first thing that comes to mind is they can schedule interviews for you, for your podcast, and they can also schedule interviews for you to be on other people's podcast. Some of the other things that you can do for a virtual assistant that you can outsource is graphics for your promotional material, video sound bites. You could have them post onto your social media for you. You could have them do your show notes. You could have them do your outlines. You could have them edit. There's tons of things that you could have a virtual assistant help you do. But like I said, you have to know exactly what you do. You have to have a process in place. That way you can hand off certain tasks to them. So make sure you have a clear plan in place of how you want someone to help you before you go seeking help. Because word of caution, this could totally backfire if you don't tell them exactly what you want and how you want it. The second type of person that you can hire to help you with your podcast is a podcast editor. And that is exactly what it sounds like. You record your podcast audio files and you ship it off to someone who will magically turn, like they will use their wizardry or whatever it is that they do and turn your raw files into a beautiful podcast episode. You'll still have to do the promoting and the marketing and all the other stuff that you want to do, but a podcast editor can at least take that off your plate. They can, it's so awesome to be able to just show up and, oh, my podcast is done. All I had to do was record the thing and now it's ready to go. Now I can talk about it to everybody because I love the marketing of it. I don't know, maybe that's your thing. I'm not sure what you love to do within your podcast, but if editing is something that you do not enjoy, outsource it. Don't do it. Don't put that burden on yourself. Have someone else do it that loves to work with audio files. The third type of person I want to talk about today is a podcast launch manager. Now, a podcast launch manager is exactly how it sounds. They just help you launch your podcast. So if you have every intention of doing all the other podcast related tasks, like I mentioned in the Ultimate Podcast Checklist, then a launch manager can just help you launch the thing, right? If you are very clear on what goals you have for your podcast, then a launch manager can help you get there. They can help you set everything up in place and say, okay, here's the timeline between now and the time you're going to launch. And here are all the things that need to happen in between. A lot of the times, launch managers are super organized and they're in the industry, so they know what to do, and they are a lot faster at doing these types of things than someone who launches other things, or someone who's just like, yeah, sure, I'll give this podcast launch a try. I don't even know what accent that was, but it definitely, no, that was cut. That was terrible. Oh my gosh. But a podcast launch manager can help you from the beginning gain some momentum for your podcast. The fourth type of person I want to talk about today is a podcast content manager. So I heard a new word, like, oh, new words, like come to me because obviously I'm not the smartest person on the planet, but ideation. I did not know that was a word. I had to look it up, but it is the creation of ideas. That is ideation, creation of ideas. And there are people out there, I'm actually one of these people, who could come up with tons of ideas all the time. So if you are someone who is just not spilling out with ideas, then consider hiring someone that can help you come up with ideas like on the spot. Like here's 700 ideas for your podcast for the next 3 years. Okay, like that sounds amazing. So there are podcast content managers out there that can help you strategically plan your podcast content. But here's the cool thing about a content manager. You could probably have a sit-down conversation with them one time and plan out an entire year. This isn't someone that you have to go to all the time, like a virtual assistant or maybe even a launch manager. This is someone you can have a conversation with, develop a strategic plan for your podcast, and maybe only meet with them a few times a year, if even that many. So a podcast content manager is a strategic person to have on your team. The fifth type of person I want to talk about today is a podcast coach or consultant. This is what I do. This is my jam. This is what my digital course is all about. This is what I live and breathe every single day. I love coaching people on their podcast. Now, the reason why this is different from all the other types is that it could be different from client to client, person to person. I don't just sit down with people who are launching. I don't just sit down with people who are starting. I don't just sit down with people who already have established shows and want more exposure or more downloads. It is different from day to day, which is why I love what I do. But if you want to hire a podcast coach or consultant, then you have to be serious about this podcasting journey that you're on. I don't suggest that you hire a podcast coach just because you're like kind of trying this out, because it can be pretty expensive. And I know from experience of my services and people in the industry that podcast coaches want to work with people that are serious. Like, we want to make sure that your podcast is a priority within your business that you either have or that you're growing. So consider hiring a podcast coach or consultant if you are super serious about what you're doing and you're in this for the long haul. The sixth type of person I want to talk about today is a podcast marketing manager. So I would relate this to a social media marketing manager. It's kind of the same thing, but this person would strictly do marketing for your podcast. If that is not your strong suit, if that makes you a little cringy and a little uncomfortable to think about selling and promoting and telling everyone about this amazing podcast you have, then hire someone else to do it. I think that you should feel comfortable enough to tell someone if you're at a dinner party, hey, I have this podcast and this is why it's awesome and this is how it can add value to your life. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that online in a really big way, like developing video sound bites and doing graphics and promoting on social media and doing things on your website, or even going to events and talking and doing all these things, if that just overwhelms you, then consider hiring a podcast marketing manager. And the seventh person I want to talk about is a podcast manager. Oh my goodness. These are like the holy grail, bow down, because they literally do it all. They do everything short of you recording your voice and putting it into an audio file for them. They do the post write-ups, they do show notes, they may do outlines for you, maybe they help you develop your content, they'll help you market it, they help you publish it, they upload it, they track your downloads, they help you get on other guest shows, they track your other there's so many amazing things that a podcast manager can do for you. But the reason why I suggest this last is because I think that there's something to be said about you doing your own services, your own tasks, your all of these things yourself for a while, because I would hate for you to get in relationships with a podcast manager and they develop everything for you, and then something happens to that relationship. Maybe they move on, maybe they can't afford you, or maybe you can't afford them as their manager, and then all of a sudden you're left with, well, what do I do? This person handled everything for me. I don't even know how to turn on my microphone and record it and then edit it and then upload it and do all the things, right? That could be so overwhelming. So I suggest hiring a podcast manager after you have tried everything yourself and you're just to the point where it's going to pay off for you to hire someone to pay for them to do it. Or you are just at the point where you're just rocking it. You're like, my podcast has grown so much. I have all this revenue coming in from this podcast that I can afford to fully staff someone to handle all the things that I don't have time for, because I just want to focus on the podcast content and delivering the best value to my audience. That is the dream. That is the goal, right? But I suggest you start with a virtual assistant that can help you handle some of those tasks that you just can't do, or you don't want to do, or maybe you shouldn't even be doing. So tell me in the comments below, which type of person do you find ooh, I want to go find one of those, or I want to go hire someone just like that, because I want to know the next person I want to hire for my team is a virtual assistant. Because as of now, as of me recording this, I am just a one-woman show. And that may be where you are on this journey, but I am working on offloading some tasks that I know a virtual assistant could do so much faster than me and probably 10 times better. But then if I were to snap my fingers tomorrow and hire someone else, I think that I would have someone help me with marketing and my content, because I know the things that my audience wants to hear, but what if this person has some other ideas that are even better? Or what if someone has a new fun marketing way that they can help me get my message out to more people? So I want you to consider, who would you hire for your podcast? So I hope you enjoyed this podcasting tips video on the 7 people to consider hiring to improve your podcast. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed everything we talked about here today. Make sure to subscribe below and hit that bell. That way you're notified every time we put out a brand new podcasting video every single Friday. And be sure to sign up for the free 5-day Create Your Podcast Bootcamp. It is linked below in the description, and I will see you in the next video. Keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.